Hello everybody, it's the 16th of March today, and I'm going to be repotting this that I call my fluted hornbeam. I call that because it's, well, they're not as pronounced now, but it has some sort of fluting structure going on at its nibari, and just to differentiate it from other hornbeams I've got. It's been in this pot for a couple of years, and although I was happy with it initially, I'm not entirely happy with it as a composition now, and so I've decided I'm going to repot it, and I also have plans for this pot also, which you'll see at a slightly later date. My plan for this tree involves basically going into something that's a little bit bigger, a little bit wider, and I think will suit it a little bit more. We will see. I could be entirely wrong, but as I've said in other videos, I have to look at my trees every day, and you may look at this and say, you know, I like the green one better than the blue one. Yeah, feel free to let me know in the comments below, but at the end of the day, I'm going to put it in this blue one, and if I don't like it in a year or two's time, well, no reason it can't be changed. Nothing forever, eh? I'm going to need to do a little light trimming on this tree, some branches and things that criss and cross each other that'll need to be removed, but I'll do that in a while. For now, let's just give you a quick 360 of the tree as it is, and then we'll get out, get rid of the turntable and bring in the potting tray. Okay, so let's get this thing out of the pot. It's been in here a couple of years, but there's no lip on this pot, which means it's come out quite smoothly. As you can see, a couple of years, and it's left the tree quite root bound, so it'll be happy to get into get its roots out and into some fresh soil, I'm sure. First thing I'm going to do is try and get rid of all this moss on the trunk here, which I do hate. And I know some people cultivate moss, but I don't even like it on the surface of the pot, let alone on the trunk of my trees. I think that demonstrates a little bit as to why I call it my fluted hornbeam. It has these flute-like root structures. I've had this tree a long old time. There is a playlist which we link below and in the end screen, which you can go back and look. I did some severe bending on it. It doesn't look like it now, but this slightly bent trunk was a ramrod straight a few years ago, until I built a device, some might call it a torture device, that I strapped it into and forced a little bend. It's not a severe bend, it's, some would say, insignificant, but I feel it has made a difference, quite a difference, and again, as I say, I have to look at it every day, and I'm happier looking at it with this very slight bend than I was when it was ramrod straight. Okay, so I'm removing some of the surface. And there's a pheasant next door. They pop in occasionally, but I can't honestly say they're particularly welcome. Okay, so that's got rid of a lot of that. using my old root shears. I'm basically going to take a slice off all around the edge. How posh did I suddenly become then? Take a slice off all around the edge of all these roots that are going round and round and round. If I don't, they'll just continue doing that. Plus it's got to fit into the new pot as well, so let's speed this up. Okay, so that's got rid of all those round roots. It's also thinned out the root ball considerably because the new blue pot isn't as deep as the old green one. So that's going to help considerably. Now I'm not going to comb out this entire root mat. I'm quite happy with the Nibari, and as I say, these kind of fluted roots I find quite interesting as a structure, but I am going to just try and get rid of the last bits of moss and things on the surface, and then comb out a little on the bottom, as I say, to make sure it's got plenty of opportunity to get these roots into the new medium. Sometimes if you don't tease out the roots a little like this, a tree will just sit and sulk, and it won't let its roots go out into the strange new soil around it. And that's true of a tree that you might plant in the garden also. If you buy one from the nursery, or any plant, tease out its roots a little, it makes a huge difference in how well it'll get away and get established. Right, Cooper-doo, come out, have you? To hear the pheasant, I expect. Is that right? You listening? It was over there. I know, I heard it. I said this in the last video as well, but it's really nice that I can just pop the back door open and Coops can come and go as he pleases. If it gets cold, he can go inside. I think he finds having his paws on the cold slabs of the patio here a little bit chilly sometimes. I must admit, I wouldn't like to be out here barefoot. Okay, let's try the new pot for size. Perfect. And with that nice flat root ball, the tree's pretty stable. I'm not going to bother to wire it in. Shouldn't need to. Once the tree starts rooting out, it'll should stand up quite nicely. I might have to protect it from high winds and things, but otherwise it should be absolutely fine. As I said in the last video, obviously I'm going to get rid of that And it's just a congealed matter of root and substrate, and that will go directly into the compost bin. But as much of the loose stuff I can, I'm going to save, because of the there's a current shortage of the cat litter in the UK at the moment, and I've got a bag and a bit of the fresh stuff, and that's all I've been able to get, and I can't get hold of any online either, so I'm going to sterilise it a little and mix it sort of 20% to 80%, 20% old, 80% new, using these new discs in place of the flimsier netting that came on a sheet. It came as a sheet, and this seems to be working quite well. Of course, the proof of that will be in the pudding, but we'll see how it goes over the next couple of years. Okay, so gently with the first layer so as not to disturb those drainage discs down there. It's not easy to say, is it? Because they sit so neatly and snugly over the holes, they don't seem to drift about. So I'm not wiring them in. We will see. Now the tree, I think, is going to sit more or less there. In fact, yes, I'm pleased with that already. I think I need to add a little more substrate into the base, and then to that I'm going to add some controlled release plant food, and although I'm mixing it in so it's not touching the roots, or the roots aren't touching it, I'm not trying to get it to go right down into the bottom of the pot. I want it to stay at the top, so any fertiliser that leaches will leach down into the bottom of the pot rather than straight out of the bottom of the pot, if that makes sense. We'll just make sure that's sat snugly, because I've got a nice flat even root ball. There won't be any gaps, any air gaps. So now we'll just fill in. If you've watched my last couple of videos, you'll have seen me banging on about this particular little tool. So I apologise if I'm boring people, but they often say, assume the first time, oh, the next video you put out will be someone's first video, and I am really quite pleased with this. It really is a great way of getting the mix down into the soil. It works as well as, if not better, than a chopstick. And this little scoop allows me to get the substrate down into this little gap around the outside here without too much spillage. Less spillage when I'm not filming, because I use my right hand rather than my left, but that would block the camera. So okay, so a good rinse through. You see the water is pouring out at the bottom, flushing out any dust and things that could block those drainage holes. And yeah, time to work on the top. Okay, so I had trimmed this back in the autumn a little, so I'm not going to take the wadges off the top, but I'm just going to remove some of these pieces that are, for example here, that's a little branch that's going around and straight back, and there's a couple here that are growing underneath that'll be shaded out, probably, if I can find it. Where's it gone? Oh, there we go. That one there, going straight up. I'm going to shorten this piece because it doesn't have a lot of taper. And I don't like that straight piece. I'm going to remove that entirely. Likewise that piece. Shorten that back. And so on. So remove that that's going straight up, and shorten that. A couple of pieces here in the wrong place, doing the wrong thing, as it were. Right old crowd. Can you see that? Not really, no, but there's a right old crowd here. So two's company, three's a crowd, but in this case two's company, two's a crowd too. So I'll move that back to one. Take that off. And have that as my new apex. If you don't like the look of it, Sid, just get rid of it. It'll grow something else back in its place. I don't like this piece. So move that big piece in favour of this smaller piece, which I think I'll put a piece of wire on. Probably do that off camera, because otherwise this is going to be a very long, tedious video for you. Let's come down to another branch. What the heck, I'll put a bit of wire on that now. Just use that branch to anchor it. And again, apologies for my sloppy wiring, but it does get the job done. And there we have that branch. Filling out into this quadrant a little more. And up a little more, that's better. Okay. So there we have it. That's the tree in its new home. I could remove this bit of wire now, which has been holding this branch down for a while. But there's no evidence of it particularly cutting in, so I'm going to leave it on rather than risk it. So let's give you a quick 360. And pop the can in for scale. This rear branch here needs to develop some more. I've just put a piece of wire on it just to make sure it's going out in the right direction, but it's getting there. It's getting there. So there you have it. Thank you so much for watching. Do all the usual YouTube things, the liking, the subscribing, the commenting below. And most of all, please, 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 stay safe, everybody.